In Laboratory Reddit, today's story is
I blocked my husband when I found out on Facebook that he gave my dream earrings to his mother on my 33rd birthday. I am a 33-year-old woman and I am going through a complicated situation with my husband. It all started with an apparently small argument a few days ago, but things got out of hand when he decided to completely ignore me on my birthday. Let me explain from the beginning. I am in the process of losing weight because I have polycystic ovary syndrome, POS. As part of my diet, I always have Greek yogurt at home. We all know how beneficial it is when you're trying to lose weight. I have had several conversations with my husband about this, explaining to him that he has many other snack options available at home. However, for the past few months, he has been eating my Greek yogurt whenever he is hungry, leaving me with nothing when I need it. A few days ago, after a long day at work, I came home wanting to prepare my usual snack, Greek yogurt with a little honey and nuts. When I opened the refrigerator, I realized there was nothing left. I was completely sure I had 2 servings left. I had even made a mental note to buy more in the next few days. I was already exhausted from work and hunger had made me irritable, so I ended up arguing with my husband about it. I expressed my frustration, reminding him that this was important to me and that I had already asked him several times to be more considerate of my weight loss process. It was something as simple as respecting my snacks and getting his own. Instead of understanding, my husband became defensive, saying that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Although I knew that the yogurt issue might seem insignificant, the argument escalated. We only stopped when our 4-year-old son woke up, and we had to take care of giving him dinner and putting him back to bed. After that, silence fell between us. I thought that everything would return to normal the next day, but I was wrong. I waited patiently for a couple of days, thinking that he would take the first step to reconcile, but he didn't. And then my birthday came, and the silence continued, which hurt me deeply. My husband has always made my birthday special. He traditionally organizes a dinner with friends and family, and he surprises me with incredible gifts. This year, there was absolutely nothing. I felt so devastated that I cried myself to sleep, while he continued to sleep on the sofa. But what really broke my heart was discovering the next day that he had given his mother something that I had been wanting. They were beautiful solitaire earrings that I had been hinting that I wanted for 2 months. I had been leaving clues everywhere, and I was sure he would give them to me as a present. Imagine my surprise when, upon waking up yesterday, I saw a post on Facebook of my mother-in-law wearing exactly those earrings, thanking her son for this surprise and unexpected gift. When I confronted him about it, we finally broke the silence of days, but not in the way I had expected. I explained how hurt I was by his attitude, especially considering that it all started over something so small that we could have easily resolved. His response was that I had exaggerated the initial situation and that, as I did not apologize when I had the chance, he saw no reason to do so. Furthermore, he defended his decision to give the earrings to his mother, saying that he had done what he thought was right. This conversation ended in another argument, after which he decided to leave. I spent the rest of the day desperately trying to contact him. I sent him countless text messages and called him repeatedly. I even left our son with my mother so that I could look for him in person. I drove all over the city, calling him constantly, but got no response. When I finally returned home in the evening, exhausted and defeated, I collapsed on the sofa in tears. He came back around 1 in the morning, but didn't even look at me. He just went straight to the bedroom and shut the door. The next morning, he left for work, ignoring my attempts to talk to him. After he left, I had another episode of inconsolable crying. I felt lost, hurt, and the worst part was that he didn't seem to care at all. He didn't even ask about our son, who was still with my mother. His complete indifference towards our family seemed unacceptable to me. So, after calming down a bit, I decided to pack a few things and go to my mother's house too. I was so hurt that I decided to block him on all social networks and on the phone. In the afternoon, he showed up at my mother's house, probably after finding our house empty. He started begging me to come back, saying he regretted everything and felt guilty, but by that point I needed space. I told him I wouldn't be coming home, at least not for a few days. He tried to make me feel guilty, arguing that I had started all this and the least I could do was try to fix things. But I didn't feel ready for that, so after more arguments and tears, I asked him to leave. Now I'm questioning whether I made the right decision. I feel completely confused about the whole situation, and not even my mother can give me clear advice at the moment. Am I the bad one for pushing my husband away and telling him that I need time before moving back in with him? Update 1. I want to thank everyone for their comments. They helped me see the situation more clearly. I've realized that both my husband and I have been acting very toxic towards each other. If we want our marriage to work, we need to have a serious conversation. And we really want it to work. We have a child together, and I think it would be best to try to work things out and get through this together. I recognize that he has been very insensitive and that the original reason for our fight, the Greek yogurt, now seems insignificant compared to what happened next. In the 3 days since my original post, my husband has been trying to contact me constantly. I unblocked him a few hours after posting here because I felt so guilty about the whole situation. Also, I didn't know what to say to our son, who kept asking what was going on and seemed very confused. Although I didn't reply to him during those days, today I finally spoke to him. I called him this morning and told him that if he wanted to sort things out, I was willing and that we could meet for dinner today. I chose a restaurant because I wanted a neutral place. Within an hour he replied, saying he would be happy to meet at whatever time I preferred. We made a call to coordinate schedules, and in a couple of hours we are going to meet. Even though we have been together for the last 7 years, 2 years as a couple and 5 as a married couple, I feel surprisingly nervous about this meeting. I guess these last few days have brought so many things to the surface that I feel like it's our first date all over again. But I am determined to be completely honest with him and have a sincere conversation, whatever happens. I think that in recent years we have changed a lot, and we are no longer the same people we were before. In fact, I think we have become one of those typical couples who let the romance die out after a few years of marriage and having a child. I don't want to be like that, because I know couples like that. Maybe they laugh together, but they're not really happy, or worse still, sometimes they don't even laugh. That's why I think we both need to try harder to make each other happy, like we used to. We can't let the daily routine get in the way of our marriage, and I plan to mention this to him today. I know that what has happened recently is not pleasant, but it is definitely not something that we can't overcome. In fact, I know several couples who have overcome worse situations. I am explaining all this because many people in the comments on my previous post suggested that I should end this marriage and walk away. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. I really want things to work out, and I hope they do. So here I go, fingers crossed, to dinner in an hour, hoping everything will be okay. Update 2. Hello, although it is quite late at night, I want to share how the dinner with my husband went a few hours ago. I don't know exactly how to express it, because some things are still complicated, but in general, I think I managed to communicate everything I wanted to say. He was also very respectful in listening to my feelings and opinions, and sincerely apologized for his behavior. We started by apologizing to each other, because at this point, it no longer matters who was at fault in the beginning. If we want this to work, we can't keep blaming each other. We need to grow up and behave like adults instead of teenagers. We agreed on this at the beginning of the conversation, which made the rest of the talk much easier. Then we both recognized that we had let our romance die out. We no longer cared about dating or making each other happy, we only cared about surviving day to day, and that is no longer enough. We talked about it, and he suggested that the best way to address it would be to seek marriage counseling. I agreed. We decided that we would start looking for couples counselors and try to choose one in the next 2 weeks. We also talked about what happened that night and about the gift. I told him how much it had hurt me and that I couldn't believe he had done something like that. I told him that he had crossed the line and that such a small fight over Greek yogurt did not justify such an extreme reaction. I told him I thought he had overreacted in an unhealthy way, but at that moment I noticed he became somewhat defensive. Although he admitted his guilt, I could see he had a lot more to say but was holding it back. However, at the time things were going well and I didn't want to fight, so I pretended not to notice his change of attitude when we touched on that subject. That part is still a bit complicated, along with the fact that I told him I still need more time. I can't just go back to living with him and pretend that everything is fine, especially now that everything is so recent. I explained that I thought taking some time apart would be best for everyone at the moment. I told him he was completely welcome to come over after work or whenever he wanted to see our son. But he didn't agree with this. He said he wanted us to move back in together tomorrow, because he didn't think we needed more time apart. He thinks that living together would make it easier for us to talk and resolve everything faster. But I don't see it that way. I think it's important that we resolve things internally before moving back in together. Although I think he's partly right, for now we've decided to take a few more days apart to decide what we want to do. So that's what we talked about. The dinner ended well. Overall, we were able to resolve our issues, although some things are still complicated. As I mentioned, we are going to take a few more days apart to reflect on everything. Afterwards, we hope to be able to live together again and try to be a happy family again. For now, I'm happy with how everything turned out and hope things will only get better from now on. Update 3. A few days have passed and today we finally plan to return home. I talked to my mother about everything we discussed over dinner the other day. She told me it was the right thing to do to return home. She reminded me that I have to think about my son and that being separated for a long time would probably not be good for him. I was already very confused by everything that was happening, and I didn't want to prolong that period of confusion. That's why I made this decision. I also talked to my son about it. When I told him we were going home, he was very happy to be able to be with his father again. My husband came to see us a few times over the last 4 days, but he's been busy with a new project at work, so he hasn't been able to spend much time with us. Both my son and I are eager to get back to normal, and in a couple of hours my husband will come to pick us up, as I had come here by taxi. During these days, we have been communicating a lot, either by text messages, phone calls, or during his visits. And I would say that things are almost back to normal. There is no longer any discomfort or tension. I am very grateful for this because I did not expect things to improve so quickly. Even so, I think counseling will be good for us because I feel like we have only solved the superficial problems. We are still looking for a therapist and will start the sessions as soon as we find the right person. We still haven't had a proper conversation about the incident. I don't know if he'll continue to get defensive or not. And for now, I don't want to bring it up either because things are going well and I don't want to spoil anything. It's not that I'm afraid to bring it up, I just think it's water under the bridge and I'd rather not stir it up anymore. I asked my mom about this, because I had told her that he got defensive when I mentioned the incident and didn't seem willing to discuss it. She advised me that if things are good now, there's no need to bring it up. That I can let it go. So that's what I'll do for now. Anyway, I still have some packing to do, so I'll get back to that. I'm glad the situation is finally improving. Update 4. Hi! I'm back home now, and today my husband gave me a big surprise by going to such lengths to make it up to me. We got home around noon and then I decided to take a nap with my son. The house was so quiet that we didn't even realize it while he decorated everything. We woke up around 4 in the afternoon, and when we went out, he surprised me by telling me that he had invited several relatives and friends to make up for the birthday party that never happened. It was also a welcome home party, although only my mother and I would know that. I felt very happy. In a couple of hours the guests started to arrive and we had a great time. During the party, he gave me a beautiful set of jewelry that included the pair of earrings I had asked for, along with a matching necklace, a bracelet and a ring from the same set. It must have been very expensive. I was speechless at that moment. I could only cry and thank him. That gift meant so much to me, especially now that we were making more of an effort for each other. And he was doing things like this for me. Everyone else present also seemed moved. After the party, my mother-in-law asked to speak to me in private. Here I need to clarify something. Although my husband had given her my gift, I was never upset with her. We have always had a very normal relationship, and she could not have known anything about the gift unless my husband had told her. So I had no problem with her accepting it. Going back to what happened, she approached me and gave me back the earrings, explaining that her son had told her everything and that she no longer felt comfortable keeping them. She told me that she was very happy that we had decided to patch things up, because apparently 2 days after the fight, he had visited her and told her everything, including about the earrings. She said that he had been very scared thinking that I wouldn't come back, and she was glad that I had. At first I hesitated to accept the earrings back, but she insisted and I ended up accepting them. It was a very sweet moment. Then she left. When everyone had left and we had put our son to bed, I told my husband how grateful I was for everything he had done. I also told him that his mother had given me back the earrings, and he said that made him very happy. He explained that since he had given me the earrings, he had felt very uncomfortable because he knew exactly how much I wanted them, as he had been dropping hints all the time. He had given them to me just to hurt me, but afterwards he felt really bad about it. He had repented, so he had bought the whole set to make it up to me. He was really pleased that his mother had also tried to make amends. He said he was very lucky with the women in his life. We talked about the party and somehow got onto the incident that had caused our initial argument. We had a good laugh about the fact that we were literally fighting over Greek yogurt. He admitted that he had been insensitive about the whole thing and told me that his behavior in the days that followed, especially on my birthday, had simply not been acceptable. He told me that he was very grateful that I had chosen to forgive him rather than hold a grudge. I'm glad I didn't bring it up before, because he brought it up himself and the conversation we had was much better. He acknowledged his mistakes again, I acknowledged mine too, and today we were also able to choose the couple's counselor we are going to work with. Tomorrow we will talk to her to set the date for our first session and we hope she will help us improve our relationship even more. I know there is no longer any conflict as such, but I am still sharing this because I haven't talked about the fight with anyone other than my mother and I don't want to discuss these issues with my friends. But here I can talk about it and I think it's important to show that sometimes giving your marriage a second chance is as important as knowing when to walk away, especially when it comes to little things that can be solved with a conversation or an apology. Anyway, that's my perspective on the whole situation. Not everyone may agree, but people seem interested in this, so I'll keep posting as long as there's interest. Update 5. Several things have happened and I'm going to save the best for last. A couple of days ago we had the party and 2 days ago we attended our first marriage counseling session together. It went very well. We were able to talk about many things and I think this was exactly what we needed. Of course, many of the issues we dealt with in counseling were things we had already discussed on our own, but it was useful to get the opinion of a professional and I think we did well. We are going to our next session next week and we are very excited about it because we have just found out that I am pregnant. I realized that I was a couple of days late and decided to take a test this morning. That's when we found out. It seems almost like a miracle because we've been trying to have another baby on and off for the last few years. Our first child had been a complete surprise, but this one we wanted to plan in advance. Even before we got married, my husband and I had always said that we wanted 2 children. Over the last few years we would try for a few months and then give up because it wasn't working. Then, a couple of months ago, I was diagnosed with PCOS, and that made me understand why I was having such a hard time getting pregnant this time. We had almost given up hope and decided we would just keep our son, but then this happened today and I'm just over the moon. I don't even know what to say because it's not something I was expecting. It also makes sense why I had been so grumpy and irritable over the last few weeks. I was pregnant and didn't know it. When I told my husband about the positive test, he was even happier than me, if that was possible. He literally started jumping for joy, hugging us all, and there were lots of tears of happiness. Knowing that I'm pregnant makes it even more worthwhile having decided to give my marriage a chance instead of walking away because of something like this. We are both really happy that we have chosen this moment to work on our marriage and resolve any unresolved issues, because we want to be better partners for each other when our baby arrives, so that we can be better parents too. And, of course, I will now have to be more aware of my health, so I guess my husband will be well advised to stay away from my Greek yogurt. Anyway, I'm just really happy and grateful for everything at the moment. Update 6. Hi everyone, it's been almost a year since my last update and I completely forgot to post here. I've been busy with my pregnancy, counseling, my family and, of course, my work, but a couple of months ago I finally gave birth to a baby girl. The whole family is very happy. My son is delighted to be a big brother and takes very good care of his little sister. Both my mother and my mother-in-law are happy to be grandmothers for the second time and, to be honest, the last few months have been pure happiness. The counseling is going very well and I think both my husband and I have become better partners. We are back to the way we were at the beginning, after we started attending these sessions, and I am really grateful for that. We've got our spark back and we don't take each other for granted anymore. We're definitely making an effort to keep the romance alive. Even after having 2 children, we've also decided that the first pair of earrings, the ones my mother-in-law had given back to me, will be saved for our daughter so she can have them when she's old enough. I think it will be the most appropriate thing to do and we'll also have a very funny story to tell her about the earrings. Anyway, I only went online to post this and now I'd better get back to my family. Thanks to everyone who kept reading and taking an interest in my life, but I don't think there will be any more updates for a while, so thanks again.